The stimuli received is then transformed to sensation by sense organs. The second component is processing, in which the informations are analyzed in a meaningful way when the inputs are sent to central processing unit, that is the nervous system, by the receptors. Perception of the situation, thinking, reasoning, and problem solving occurs. The third and the last component of the system is output. They are the behavioral response of individual. It is caused by input and processing component of individual behavior. The situation in which output occurs largely influence the working of the system as a whole. What is organizational behavior? But before that, we'll see the words from which it is formed. Organizational behavior has two terms in it, organization and behavior. Therefore, these two terms should be explained first before diving into the title. As said by James Shore, great leaders understand human behavior, cybernetics of any function. Organizations are composed of individuals who are unique in multiple perspectives. Every individual alone or in a group behaves, interacts with people, and addresses situations differently. Why is that so? You'll get to know it shortly. Assalamu alaikum, I am Amna Nadeem with my group member Hajra Javed. In this presentation, our main focus would be to understand how behavior of individual and group affects their overall performance and the working environment of organizations. This is the general overview of our presentation. Our topic can be divided into three main portions: organizational behavior, individual behavior, and group behavior. In organizational behavior, our emphasis would be on what is meant by this term, its importance, and its three levels of analysis. Whereas in individual behavior, our main target would be to discuss factors affecting individual behavior, their models, including some learning theories. Lastly, in group behavior, we will be discussing types of groups, reason of group creation, group decision making, model of group development, group roles and structures, group shift, and group think. But before that, we will look into the complex stimuli response system in an easy way. Starting with our first topic, that is behavior as an input-output system. To understand this system, we need to first define what is behavior. It is a verbal or physical response which is shown by a person as a consequence of the impact of his or her surroundings. Behavior of the human is considered as the most complex one. Thus, managers must be familiar about the behavior of people because these people are considered as the spinal cord of every organization. So the first component of the system is input. They are the main operators of the system. They provide stimuli for individuals. There are two main kinds of stimuli, internal and external. Internal stimuli are those which are within the individual. For example, personal characteristics, personality, emotions, values, beliefs, attitude, and ability. Whereas external stimuli consist of information which an individual collects from the external environment about other people, object, or event. The stimuli received is then transformed to sensation by sense organs. The second component is processing, in which the informations are analyzed in a meaningful way when the inputs are sent to central processing unit, that is the nervous system, by the receptors. Perception of the situation, thinking, reasoning, and problem solving occurs. The third and the last component of the system is output. They are the behavioral response of individual. It is caused by input and processing component of individual behavior. The situation in which output occurs largely influence the working of the system as a whole. What is organizational behavior? But before that, we'll see the words from which it is formed. Organizational behavior has two terms in it, organization and behavior. Therefore, these two terms should be explained first before diving into the title in question. Organization is a group of people who are involved in pursuing organizational goals through collective efforts. Organization works through two concepts: coordination and delegation among its group members. Delegation is necessary to assign group members with equal work according to their capability, and coordination is required to achieve organizational goal with precision. The word behavior has already been explained in the previous slide. So in a nutshell, organizational behavior is a study of how human behavior affects an organization and how an organization operates through the behaviors of its members. Organizational behavior explains behavior and makes behavioral predictions based on observations. Because if you can understand behaviors, you can better understand how an organization works. In addition to this, organizational behavior also studies how an organization can affect behavior. So if you think about it, behavior affects an organization and an organization affects behavior. It's all connected. They affect each other, creating a never-ending loop between the two. Therefore, in order to have a healthy and successful organization, it is extremely important to understand the ins and outs of organizational behavior. Now that you already know what is organizational behavior, we'll look into its importance and why should organizational behavior be studied. Firstly and most important, it provides a roadmap to organizational life. It helps to improve skills, and this includes the ability of employees and use of knowledge to become more efficient. It also improves work skills of managers and employees. OB plays an important part to improve the marketing process by understanding consumer buying behavior. With the help of organizational behavior, we can understand the nature of employees, whether they are introvert, extrovert, motivated, dominating, etc. Understanding of personal and employee nature is important to manage them properly. OB helps to understand the basis of motivation and different ways to motivate employees properly. Study of organizational behavior helps to increase efficiency and effectiveness of the organization, and this may lead to an increase in the profit of the organization. It helps to create a healthy, ethical, and smooth environment in an organization. By understanding OB, management can train and motivate employees for optimum utilization of resources. And lastly, organizational behavior helps to improve goodwill of organization. This was all about the significance and importance of organizational behavior and its impact on overall business activities. There is a research which shows that organizations that are considered healthier and more effective have strong organizational behavior characteristics throughout them, but unfortunately most organizations are unhealthy, with 50% of respondents saying that their organization do not engage in effective organizational behavior practices. Organizational behavior analyzes the behavior of people at three different levels. The three basic levels of analysis in organizational behavior are individual level, group level, and organizational level. At the individual level, the major contributing discipline is psychology. This level includes the characteristics and behaviors of employees as well as the thought processes that are attributed to them, such as motivation, perceptions, personalities, attitudes, and values. The second level is the group level analysis, and the major contributing disciplines at this level are sociology, social psychology, and anthropology. Group level analysis focuses at the way people interact, and this level includes group dynamics, decisions, power, organizational politics, conflict, communication, etc. The last level is the organizational level analysis, and the major contributing disciplines are sociology, anthropology, and political science. This level focuses on how people structure their working relationships as well as on how organizations interact with their external environment forces. Major variables for analysis are organizational structure, culture, power, politics, and change, etc. So, for example, if an employee wants to understand his boss' personality, he would be examining the individual level of analysis. If a group of people wants to know about the manager's personality, how it affects their group, they are examining the things at the group level. But if an employee wants to understand how his organization culture affects his boss behavior, he would be interested in the organization level of analysis. Moving to our next topic, that is individual behavior. It refers to the way in which an individual reacts or behaves at his place of work. It can be defined as a combination of reactions to internal and external stimuli. And most importantly, behavior of an individual have a great influence on the performance of organization. In this topic, we will cover four factors that affect individual behavior. There are two models that are Mars and integrated model, the management theories that are theory X and Y, and lastly the three learning theories that are classical conditioning theory, operant learning theory, and social learning theory. Following are the four factors that affect individual behavior. Personal factors. It refers to the type of characteristics which are inherited and genetic in nature, and these characteristics cannot be changed. Psychological factors. It covers the psyche of individuals which make up for their mentality and attitude towards situations. Organizational factors refers to resources and organizational systems. Environmental factors. It includes variety of external environments of an individual such as social, political, legal, etc. Personal factors are age, emotional intelligence, gender, education, marital status, religion, and abilities. We will look into each one of them in detail. So the first factor is age. It is an important factor that organizations are concerned about. Age has an impact on the performance, turnover, absenteeism, productivity, and satisfaction levels of employees. Performance depends on age. As age advances, performance is likely to decline. Similarly, aging has impact on turnover. The older people are less likely to quit the job. Age-absence relationship depends on whether absenteeism is avoidable or unavoidable. Generally, older employees have lower rate of avoidable absence than the younger employees. However, they have high rate of unavoidable absence. This probably is because of poor health associated with old age. With regard to productivity, old age results in reduced productivity. This is because of the decline in individual skills as he grows older in age. So the second factor is emotional intelligence. People with high intelligence have a good decision making ability because of their good analytical and reasoning skills. They are very productive and have a high achievement drive. This is the age of emotional intelligence, and today's recruiting managers make sure that candidates have it. The five components of emotional intelligence at work are self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Self-awareness is the basic understanding of how we feel and why we feel that way. The more we are aware of our feelings, the easier they are to manage and dictate how we might respond to others. Self-regulation is defined as the ability to manage one's actions, thoughts, and feelings in flexible ways to get the desired results. Motivation is about working with and for an inner version of what is important, a curiosity and desire for learning and development, a drive that goes beyond external rewards such as money or status. Empathy relates to the ability to understand the emotional makeup of others and the skill to treat people according to their emotional reactions. And the last, social skills, which involves the ability to manage relationships, build networks, and find common ground. The third factor is gender. There are important differences between men and women, which is because of the inherent qualities and family responsibilities that affect their job performance. Psychological studies have found that women are more willing to conform to authority and less aggressive. On the other hand, men are more aggressive, they have more expectations, and are more ambitious than women. While the stability rate is higher among women employees, the absenteeism rate is also higher. This can be attributed to the fact that they are expected to shoulder more family responsibilities than men. Research studies on male and female employees says that there are no consistent male-female difference in problem-solving ability, analytical skills, and competitive drive. The fourth factor is education. It has its effect upon individual behavior through the level and type of education received. Increased levels of education serve to increase an individual's expectations about positive outcomes, and these outcomes are generally perceived to be a more satisfying job, higher income level, and great alternative sources of occupational choice. The fifth is marital status. Marital status also has influence on absenteeism, turnover, and satisfaction level of employees. Married employees have fewer absences, they undergo less turnover, and are more satisfied with their jobs than the unmarried ones. In fact, married employees are more conscious of their responsibilities. Satisfaction level in terms of salaries they get from organization were found to be in equal ratio among both married and unmarried employees. The sixth is religion. Religion and culture also determine attitude towards work and towards financial incentives. In other words, religion and religiously based culture that play an important role in determining some aspects of individual behavior, especially those that concern morals, ethics, and a code of conduct. Highly religious people have high moral standards and usually do not tell lies or talk ill of others. They are highly contented, thus strive for the goal of achievement and self-fulfillment. The last factor is abilities. It refers to the actual skills and capabilities that a person possesses and is required for the effective performance of activities. Organizations need to ensure that its employees possess the necessary abilities to engage in the behavior required for effective performance. This is accomplished either by careful selection of people or by the combination of selection and training. Psychological factors are divided into 7 parts, which are perception, values, attitude, psychological needs, personality, motivation, and learning. Psychological needs are further divided into excellence, affiliation, and power, whereas learning is also divided into 3 parts, which are parenting, education, and job training. Now we'll discuss the psychological factors in detail. The first factor is perception. It is a viewpoint which one interprets a situation. For instance, a railway booking clerk facing a well-dressed person perceives him to be of high status and talks to him nicely, whereas he tends to ignore an ill-dressed person and make him wait, though both the passengers want first-class tickets. Perception is a major factor that contributes to individual behavior and differences, both in personal and organizational life. The second factor is value. Values are global beliefs that guides actions and judgments across a variety of situations. Values are the foundations for behavioral difference among individuals, and they help in understanding the attributes and motivation. Values are judgmental by nature, and they reflect a person's sense of right and wrong. In the today's modern and competitive business environment, managers have to work with people from different cultures, and values and attributes differ across cultures. An understanding of these differences will be helpful in explaining and predicting the behavior of employees from different cultures. The third factor is attitude. The term attitude is very common and is used in everyday life to describe people's behavior. It is a tendency to feel, think, perceive, and act in a certain manner, either favorably or unfavorably, towards an object, event, or a situation. Attitude has 3 elements in it that lead to measurable outcomes. These are feelings, thoughts, and behavior. Feelings and thoughts can be measured by simply asking individuals about their feeling and opinions. Behavior can be measured either by actual one's action or simply by asking the person how he would act in a certain situation. By measuring and integrating these 3 elements, a person's attitude towards a given situation can be established. In general, a person may have a positive attitude, which means a good outlook of life, or negative attitude, which means continuous complaining about problems in life. For example, if you showed a glass half filled with water to A and B and asked them to describe it, if A says the glass is half full, B says the glass is half empty, then there's A's attitude is positive and that of B is negative. Positive attitude is something that organizations look for while interviewing candidates. Organizationally speaking, an employee's negative attitude about work may be reflected by substandard work performance, excessive absenteeism, excessive complaining about work environment, or disobedience of rules or authority. These attitudes can be changed uh, with simply persuasion or by training. The fourth factor is personality. It refers to personal traits such as dominance, aggressiveness, persistence, and other qualities reflected through a person's behavior. An individual's personality determines the type of activities for which he is suited and the likelihood that the person would be able to perform the task effectively. Personality factors must be taken into account in determining the suitability of an individual for a position in an organization. Personality can be further classified on the basis of an individual's occupation options. John Holland grouped these features into 6 personality types, which are known as the Holland 6 occupational personality types. These are realistic personality. In this type, people are shy in nature, stable, and practical. They belong to professions like agriculture, engineering, fashion designing, etc. The second is investigative personality. It includes individuals that are analytical, curious, and have an independent mindset. They belong to professions like writing, teaching, medicine, etc. The third is artistic personality. These types of individuals have great imagination and are idealistic. They belong to professions like fine arts, music, etc. The fourth is the social personality. Such individuals are sociable, helpful, and cooperative in nature. They belong to professions like teaching, social work, counseling, etc. The fifth is enterprising personality. It includes individuals who are ambitious, adventurous, and energetic. They belong to professions like business, journalism, consultancy, etc. The last personality type is the conventional personality. These types of individuals are practical, organized, and logical. They belong to professions like training, nursing, finance, etc. Most people fall into any one of these 6 personality types. People sharing the same personality types and working together create a work environment that fits their type. People opt for such environments where they can use their skills and abilities and freely express their values and attitudes. People who work in an environment similar to their personality type are more likely to be successful and satisfied with their job. Now I'll discuss the Big 5 personality trait model. This was initially proposed by Costa and McCrae in the year 1992. This model identifies 5 types of personalities, and every individual falls into at least one of these types. The Big 5 personality theory gives a simple blueprint to understanding others, improving relationships by knowing why people behave the way they do. So, the first type is extraversion. It is the degree to which someone is sociable, talkative, and assertive. The second type is agreeableness. It includes people who are good natured, cooperative, and trusting. The third is conscientiousness, and it refers to someone who is responsible, dependable, persistent, and achievement oriented. The fourth type is neuroticism. It is the degree to which someone is calm, enthusiastic, nervous, or depressed. The last trait is openness, and it includes people who are imaginative, artistically sensitive, and intellectual. There are some other personality traits like locus of control. It is the degree to which people believe they are masters of their own fate. Individuals who believe that they control what happens to them are characterized as internals, and individuals who believe that what happens to them is controlled by outside forces such as luck or chance has been called as externals. The second trait is Machiavellianism. It is the degree to which individual is pragmatic, maintains emotional distance, and believes that ends can justify means. The other trait is self-esteem. It refers to individuals' degree of liking or disliking of themselves. The next trait is self-monitoring. It is a personality trait that measures an individual's ability to adjust his or her behavior by external or situational factors. And the last trait is risk-taking. It is the act of doing something that involves danger or risk in order to achieve a goal.
Motivation is the force that acts within an individual and stimulates all of his actions. Motivation can arouse from a person internally if he is skilled, able, and passionate about his task, or it can even be induced in an individual by using tactics like offering them regular incentives, rewards, and appraisals. The more a person learns, the more he evolves, and learning is a continuous process. Now, let us see how learning affects an individual behavior. The changes inculcated by learning have many sources, such as parenting. As we all know, that parents are the first tutors of a child. They teach a child how to walk, talk, eat, and much more. A child also tries to imitate the behavior of his parents, so parenting for sure plays a vital role in grooming of an individual. Educational institutions are very second place of learning, and school and college are the place where an individual's personality is further polished with respect to the efficiency. In addition to a person's education and parenting, job training can also make a person learn valuable skill required for a job, which can help them improve their workplace skills. When we talk about individual behavior and the factors affecting it, the psychological needs of an individual have a major impact on that individual. Such needs are derived from a source within an individual. These may include the need for excellence, need for affiliation, and need for power. Now, the need for excellence in terms of work make a person look forward to setting higher standards of work. Therefore, they keep setting challenging goals and remain passionate and persistent in their direction of their task. Even if they find themselves stuck in a position, such individuals have the ability to carve a way out and emerge with their accomplished achievements. These individuals have the capability to fulfill most of the difficult tasks, and so they are quite beneficial for the organization and have a high productivity rate, but it also comes with a disadvantage that such people won't be satisfied with their and their organization's achievements ever, and the want for perfectionism may always act as an obstacle for them and their junior co-workers who work under them. You can guess by the topic that the need for affiliation can make people establish close relationships at their workplace with their co-workers and seniors, and they may even not feel shy to express their emotions with anyone at workplace. The productivity of these individuals at work highly depends upon the relationship with others, and the want for having a close relationship with all the co-workers may even reduce their productivity and satisfaction levels at work. Thirdly, the need for power makes a person become the most authoritative one around, which may affect his relations with his co-workers. Such people only desire to have the highest ranks and may even show distress when their demands aren't fulfilled. They may be attentive towards the queries and questions of their subordinates, and this whole attitudes of these individual results in the productivity levels to be average, and for such people, the satisfaction levels will always be low, and hunger for power and status can never be fulfilled. Moving on to the organizational factors, I would like to highlight all the factors which make up collectively for the organizational factors. They mainly include tenure, reward system, structure and design, physical facilities, and leadership style, which can have further four types that are autocratic, democratic, participative, and consultative leadership. Whenever you are working somewhere, you want it to be a comfortable place for you, and the standard of comfort varies from one individual to another. One may work better if there's some music in the background, while the other one will want to have a silent background. All these factors, including noise level, heat, light, ventilation, etc., make up for the physical facilities which indirectly are affecting an individual's working performance and capability. Moreover, the layout of the organization and duties assigned to each individual also matter. The communication between the different departments will impact the speed of work and completion as well. And so, the structure and design of an organization is an important factor. The time an individual serves in the organization is also a big deal for the organization. A new employee gets to learn all the work norms and rules after a set period, and the learning process for the employee doesn't stop there. He earns more and more experience and expertise in his field of work as time passes, which is beneficial for the organization, of course. Hence, there are positive relationship between seniority and job productive and productivity and vice versa. There comes a time when employees may get bored with their work or may even lose motivation to participate because of many reasons. Due to this reason, employees should be awarded with appraisals, promotions, recreational tours, bonuses, and other reward every now and then. And this very reason is enough to highlight the importance of a good and regular reward system. Leadership style has four different methods, and a leader may adopt the method suitable for his situation to gain the best output from his employees. The autocratic kind is all in one authority, and such leaders take all the decisions of their organizations by themselves. Such leadership may be useful in an organization where the motivation of employees is not affected by the implementation of decision by the leader. Autocratic leaders can also become exceptional military commandants. The participative leaders, on the other hand, involve everyone in their decision, and they also consider everyone's queries and are answerable to their employees for that. Such organization, if run at their best, can produce the highest performance, whether it is individual or group performance. Privatization and decentralization are biggest examples of such participative leaderships. This leadership distributes more power to people by offering them a platform for voicing their opinions. Consultative leaders are somewhat similar to participative ones with the difference that the decision making and implementation is totally up to the group members, and leaders' task is to improve the decisions, and they may even suggest improvement from their side as well. The democratic leadership, as you all know, is one of the type our country Pakistan is being led by. In democratic kind of leadership, the decision making is done by including everyone equally and reaching a decision approved by the majority. The only drawback of such leadership is that it may be hard to get its decision approved by everyone, even if it is a fine one. Here, I would like to highlight the basic environmental factors, which include economic, social, cultural, political, and technological factors. The economic factors further depend upon three important characteristics, which constitute the employment level, wages rate, and the general economic outlook of the environment. The employment opportunities available to an individual directly influence the behavior of an individual. Because of lack of job satisfaction, the individual has to stick to the same job as there are limited job opportunities for him, which may even disrupt his regular motivation to perform well at his job. Salaries and wages satisfy various individual needs. They provide food and shelter and achievements and can serve as status symbols as well. The money can be considered as a complex variable which attracts people to work in an organization and determine their satisfaction on the job. The general economic environment also influences the expectations of individuals, especially of those who are employed in industries and are severely affected by economic cycles. By economic cycles, we mean the changes in economy, which can be annual or irregular as well, depending upon the economic condition of a country or the organization itself. The social environment of an individual may constitute his relationship with his family members, friends, colleagues, supervisors, and subordinates. The behavior of other people, not with the individual but in general, is also a part of his social environment. Similarly, every individual has a cultural background which shapes his values and beliefs. Political environment within a country may affect the individual behavior directly, but it can through several other factors. In a politically stable country, one can expect a steady level of employment and thus high level of capital investments. On the other hand, companies are reluctant to invest sums of money in a politically unstable country. The political ideology of a country affects the individual behavior through relative freedom available to its citizens. This relative freedom available to the individuals can affect their career choice, job design, and performance as well. The technological changes of the modern era, which are automation, computerization, and more sophisticated production, can affect individuals at all levels. In addition to changing employment opportunities, technological change has its effect on job design as well. Although the individual may stay employed, the skills required to perform the job will stay less, therefore increasing the downward pressure on the wages rate of that individual. MARS is an acronym where M stands for motivation, A for ability, R for role perceptions, and S for situational factors. And the MARS model also explains the individual behavior of a person. The aforementioned factors are considered responsible for determining individual behavior and its results. This model represents that these four factors have a mixed effect on the individual performance. If any factor weakens, performance may decrease. Say, for example, passionate salespeople who understand their duties and have enough resources will not perform their jobs well if they lack sufficient knowledge and sales skills. As discussed in the prior slides, the individual performance can be determined by four factors, which are motivation, ability, role perceptions, and situational factors. The motivation of an individual is determined by three further important factors, which are direction, which means the goal to be achieved, the intensity, which means the amount of effort the individual is putting in to accomplish his task, and the persistence of that individual to wait for the task completion. Ability is also determined by three subfactors, one of which is aptitude, which means the natural talents of that person. Learned capabilities complement the abilities and add to a person's knowledge and skills. Meanwhile, the competency of an individual cover his personality traits or abilities which make him able for the job. Every human being has a completely unique personality and notion of the world. That is why no two individuals will understand a job in the same way. The understanding of their roles include an understanding of the assigned task, understanding of the priority of the task, and also the understanding of the preferred method to accomplish the task. The better the understanding of these three things, the better will be the output of that individual. Situational factors are the factors which are beyond the control of an individual in the short run. These may hinder or enhance the individual performance depending upon the type of the factor. For example, a pending deadline of an assignment stimulates a student to complete the assignment, which can reduce the workload of that student. Marsh model has helped us understand the individual behavior. Now we'll get to learn some theories as well which can help us understand the individual behavior and can enlighten some methods to control the individual behavior according to our needs. These theories include classical conditioning theory, operant learning theory, and social learning theory. The classical conditioning theory was proposed by a Russian physiologist Ivan Pavlov. The classical conditioning theory is based on the assumption that learning is developed through interactions with the environment. Also, the environment shapes the behavior and internal mental states such as thoughts, feelings, emotions, etc. Here, an organism learns to transfer response from one stimulus to a previously neutral stimulus. Classical conditioning is comprised of four elements. The unconditioned stimulus can be defined as the force which stimulates an unconditioned response. The unconditioned response here means the response which is totally natural and isn't yet associated with any other behavior. And those stimulus and responses of those stimulus which have been associated with a particular behavior are said to be conditioned. You may be confused a little bit at this point about this topic, but you'll be clarified with all your questions in the upcoming slides. Pavlov conducted an experiment on a dog and measured the amount of saliva secreted by a dog when it is exposed to different stimuli or objects. At first phase, before conditioning, when Pavlov presented a piece of meat to the dog, which is an unconditioned stimulus, he noticed a great amount of salivation, which here is an unconditioned response to that unconditioned stimulus. In the second phase of during conditioning, when he fed the dog for the second time, he just rang the bell, which is the conditioned stimulus, and he observed that there was no effect of a bell on the dog's salivation. But he kept repeating the steps of the second phase, and in the third phase of after conditioning, when Pavlov rang the bell accompanied with the meat and noticed salivation of dog. Since he had repeatedly now rang the bell with the meat, the dog now salivated to the bell alone, which was originally a neutral stimulus and has now become a conditioned stimulus to a conditioned response. Therefore, he found out that the dog has become classically conditioned to the sound of the bell, and every time he rings the bell, the dog salivates. Operant conditioning theory is also referred to as the instrumental conditioning, and it's a method of learning which employs rewards and punishments for behaviors. Through operant conditioning, an association is made between a behavior and a consequence. Let's come to the example so that you people can understand it in an even better manner. We consider an experiment of a lab rat over here. The lab rat is given with two levers and two lights, green and red light. When the rat presses the lever when the green light is on, they receive food, and when they press the lever when the red light is on, they receive a mild electric shock. As a result, they learn to press the lever when the green light is on and avoid the red light. There are three main components when we talk about operant conditioning theory. The stimulus situation. In this example, the stimulus situation is the presence of a lever. The behavioral response to the stimulus, which is the pressing of the lever either when the green light is on or when the red light is on. And the consequence is then decided upon the fact that when was the lever pressed, and so it's a reward or a punishment. The social learning theory was devised by Albert Bandura, who believed that an individual learns behaviors by observing them. One of the best known experiments in the history of psychology involved a doll named Bobo. The children in Bandura's studies observed an adult acting violently toward a doll named Bobo doll. When the children were later allowed to play in a room with the Bobo doll, they began to imitate the aggressive behavior they had previously observed. But the social learning theory had one more important factor to it. It's that a person learns whatever he observes and practices that in his life as well. If he gains a positive response, which can be in the form of a reward, appraisal, attention, or anything which in the perception of an individual is positive, he'll do that again to gain such response again. But in the case the response turns out to be negative, the person may not commit that act again. In addition to the March model and the three learning theories, integrated individual behavior model also helps us in taking a decision in order to perform a task efficiently. It basically analyzes a person's intention to act by studying the three parameters: attitude, perceived norms, and personal agency. These parameters have further some types which we'll discuss deeply. Attitude consists of experiential and instrumental kinds, where the experiential attitude is the kind of emotion expressed toward a situation, and instrumental attitude is a thought or perception of the individual regarding the results of the behavior. Perceived norm also has two categories. The injunctive norm is a perception of what others think the individual should do and comply to. Meanwhile, the descriptive norm indicates two perceptions about what others in one's social or personal connections are up to. Personal agency itself means an individual's ability to originate and direct actions or given purposes. Its subcategory self-efficacy is an individual's belief in his effectiveness in performing the task assigned as well as presenting their actual skills. The other subcategory deals with an individual's perceived amount of control over the behavioral conduct. It is resolved by control beliefs, say, for example, an individual's perception of the degree to which various environmental factors make it easy or difficult to perform a behavior. This model concludes that behavior is based upon the decision one makes along with the current information about situation, behavior, habit, and environmental constraints. These are further dependent on attitude, norms, and personal agency. This model concludes that behavior is based upon the decision one makes along with the current information about situation, behavior, habit, and environmental constraints. These are further dependent on attitude, norms, and personal agency. Theory X managers tend to take a pessimistic view of their people and assume that they are naturally unmotivated and dislike work. As a result, they think that the members need to be prompted, rewarded, or punished constantly to make sure that they complete their tasks. Work in Theory X organizations can be repetitive, and people are often motivated with the carrot and stick approach. Performance appraisals and remuneration are usually based on tangible results such as sales figures or product output that are used to control staff and keep tabs on them. Organizations with a theory X approach tend to have several tiers of managers and supervisors to oversee and direct workers. Authority is rarely delegated and control remains firmly centralized. Managers are more authoritarian and actively intervene to get the things done. Although theory X management has largely fallen out of fashion these days, But big organizations may find that adopting it is unavoidable due to the sheer number of people that they employ and the tight deadlines that they have to meet. Moving over to theory why. The theory why managers have an optimistic and positive opinion of their people and they use a decentralized, participative kind of management style. This encourages more collaborative, trust based relationship between managers and their team members. People have greater responsibility, and managers encourage them to develop their skills and suggest improvements. Appraisals are regular, but unlike in theory X organizations, they are used to encourage open communication rather than control the staff. Theory Y organizations also give their employees frequent opportunities for promotion. Theory Y has become more popular among organizations as compared to Theory X. This reflects workers' increasing desire for more meaningful careers than provide them just money. It's also viewed by McGregor as superior to Theory X, which he says reduces workers and likely demotivates people in the long term.
Moving to our next topic, that is group behavior. It is the attitude, feeling, and thought of a collection of people that can be observed or noticed. In group behavior, we will discuss the different types of groups, the reason of group creation, group roles, the requirement of well functioning group, the 5 stage model of group development, also known as the Tuckman's model, the group structures, group decision making, their advantages and disadvantages, group think and group shift, and ways to eliminate them. A group can be defined as two or more interacting and interdependent individuals who come together to achieve particular objectives. There are two main types of group, formal and informal. Formal groups are those type of work groups created by the organization and that have designated work assignments and routed tasks. The behavior of such groups is directed towards achieving organizational goals. Formal group is further divided into two types, command group and interest group. Command group is a group consisting of individuals who report directly to the manager, whereas interest group is group formed by individuals working together to achieve a specific objective. Informal group is defined as a group which are formed with friendship and common interest. They are also further classified into two subgroups, task group and friendship group. Task group are those working together to finish a job or task, and friendship group are those brought together because of the shared interest or common characteristics. For example, a group of workers working on a project and reporting to the same manager is considered as command group, while a group of friends chilling out together is considered as the friendship group. Why do people join groups? Group helps individual to feel stronger, have fewer self-doubts, and be more contrary to threats. The following points help us understand the need of joining a group by individuals. It reduces the feeling of insecurity of standing alone. By joining group, it provides recognition and status for its members. It transmits feeling of self-worth among its members, and group can fulfill social needs. Group represents power. And lastly, people may join a group for goal achievement because sometimes it takes more than one person to accomplish a particular task. Our next topic of discussion are group roles. Individuals play multiple roles at the same time. Employees attempt to understand what kind of behavior is expected from them. Group roles are divided into three types: task-oriented roles, relationship-oriented roles, and individual roles. In task-oriented roles, roles are allotted to individuals according to their work and eligibility, and these roles can broadly divide individuals into 6 categories that are initiator, informer, clarifier, summarizer, reality tester, and information seeker. Initiator is the one who proposes, suggests, and defines. Informer is the person who offers facts, expresses feelings, and gives opinions. Clarifier is a person who interprets, defines, and clarifies everything, whereas summarizer is a person who links, restates, concludes, and summarizes. Reality tester is the person who provides critical analysis, and lastly, information seeker is the one who gives information and data. These roles present the work performed by different individuals according to their marked designation. The next type is the relationship-oriented roles, roles that group individuals according to their efforts made to maintain healthy relationship in the group and achieve the goals. There are 5 categories of individuals that are harmonizer, gatekeeper, consensus tester, encourager, and compromiser. Harmonizer is a person who limits tension and reconciles disagreement, whereas gatekeeper is the one who ensures participation by all. Consensus tester is the person who analyzes the decision making process. Encourager is the one who is warm, responsive, active, and shows acceptance. Lastly, compromiser is the person who admits error and limits conflict. These roles depict the various role an individual plays to maintain healthy self as well as group relationships. The last type is the individual role, which classify a person according to the measure of individual effort put in the project aimed. 5 types of individuals fall into these categories that are aggressor, blocker, dominator, cavalier, and avoider. Aggressor is the person who devalues others and attacks ideas. Blocker is the one who disagrees and rebels beyond reason. Dominator is the person who insists superiority to manipulate, whereas cavalier is that person who takes part in a group non-productively. And avoider is the one who shows special interest to avoid tasks. These are the various roles a person plays in an organization. Let us understand group behavior with the help of an example. To work on a specific project, we make a group of 4 members A, B, C, and D. It is not possible for any one of them to complete the project individually, as it may be time consuming, as well as not all the members as individuals have mastered the skills required to complete the project. This indicates the need to come together as a group. Moving ahead, now let us specify their roles. A is the initiator as he proposes the idea of the project. B collects all the information and resources required for the project and becomes the informer. C is the clarifier as he interprets the data and saves defined information. While D is the summarizer as he concludes the result of project stating what is to be achieved by the end of the project. These are the task-oriented roles. Now think of another situation. When a group of people come together and present their ideas, there is a fair chance of collision. A tries to resolve all the disagreements and disputes in the first place and acts as a harmonizer. B makes sure that everyone is giving their full support and effort in the project and acts as a gatekeeper. C is the one encouraging everyone and motivating them when they fail to try harder to complete the project and is the encourager. And D tests the project at each stage and examines the major decision to be made and acts as the consensus tester. These are the relationship-oriented roles of each member. Let us assume a different scenario. Individually, each of them have different tasks to fulfill. A tries to be the group leader and impose his ideas on others, and we consider him as the dominator. B is always up with excuses to avoid the task given to him and acts as avoider. C is the one who opposes everything but is never up with some new idea and becomes a blocker. While D takes part in every group activity in a non-productive way and becomes the cavalier. These are the individual-oriented roles of each member. We now know what a group is, why it is important to form a group, and what the group-oriented roles are. Now we need to know how to mark a group as a well-functioning group, what features are necessary for a group to mark it as an efficient one. A group is considered effective when it has the following characteristics. Atmosphere is relaxed, comfortable, and friendly. Tasks to be executed are well understood and accepted. Members listen well and actively participate in given assignments. Assignments are made clear and are accepted. Group is acquainted of its operation and function. People express their feelings and ideas openly. And lastly, consensus decision-making process is followed. Moving on to the model of group development, I'll discuss the 5-stage model of group development, which is also known as the Tuckman's model. Psychologist Bruce Tuckman developed his group development model in 1965 to explain how healthy teams cohere over time. Tuckman's model identifies the 5 stages through which group progress, which are forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. Each of the 5 stages of group development represents a step on the team building ladder. The first is the storming stage, in which the members start interacting and try to work out what is expected of them. Excitement and enthusiasm is mixed with fear and uncertainty. The second is a storming state in which conflict occurs as personal agendas come to light. Members assert themselves and start questioning decisions and challenging authority. In norming stage, the group find ways of resolving conflict and begin to emerge as a cohesive unit. Criticisms and feedback are given constructively and members start cooperating with one another. In the fourth stage, that is the performing stage, confidence grows both individually and with other members of the group as they work towards a common goal. The last stage is the adjourning stage, in which the task of group completes and the group dissolves. Members will share either a sense of loss or relief depending on the outcome of the task. So this was all from my side. Now I'll request Haja Javed to take over the rest of the presentation.
Group structure is defined as the formation, arrangement, and articulation of members of that group. A group's formation is its overall design or architecture, meaning its general configuration for unifying the constituent elements into a single unit, that is, the group's basic shape. The group structure is a constituent of different elements which include group roles, norms, conformity, workplace behavior, status, social loafing, cohorts, reference groups, group demography, and cohesiveness. We'll be discussing all of these elements in detail as well. Group roles specify the types of behaviors expected of individuals who occupy particular positions within the group. As members interact within the group, their role related activities also become patterned with task roles pertaining to the work of the group, relationship roles pertaining to maintaining relations among members, and self centered roles pertaining to the task that hinders the group from accomplishing its task. Norms are the acceptable standards of behavior within a group that are shared by members and regulate members' behavior within an organization. Moving on to the common classes of norms, the performance norms provide a goal directed behavior and reject an deviant behavior that is not purposeful to the group. Appearance norms are concerned with clothing, language, mannerisms, and so forth. The social arrangement norms tell group members what is expected of them, what is acceptable, and what is unacceptable, and allow members to anticipate the behaviors of their fellow group members and to anticipate the positive or negative consequences of their own behavior. The resource allocation norms basically define where the resources of the organization are to be spent. These resources include finances, work, force, time, etc. If you wish to be accepted by a particular group, you may conform to that group's norms even before you become a part of it. Conformity is adjusting one's behavior to align with norms of a particular group as the reference group. It can also be stated as accommodating to group pressures or majority influence. Here again, conformity has three types. Normative conformity usually takes place because the individual is scared of being rejected or neglected by the group. This type of conformity usually includes compliance, like where a person publicly accepts the views of a group but privately rejects them. Informational conformity happens when a person is not clear about a situation and socially compares one's behavior with the group. This type of conformity includes internalization, like where a person accepts the views of the groups and adopts them as an individual. Ingratiational conformity is related to normative conformity, influenced but it is encouraged by the need for social rewards rather than the threat of being rejected. In other words, group pressure is not always the reason to conform. Reference groups are used in order to examine and determine the nature of a person or other group's features and sociological attributes. It is a group to which a person relates or aspires to link himself or herself psychologically. It becomes the individual's frame of reference and source to derive his or her experiences, perceptions, needs, and ideas of self. These groups act as a benchmark and contrast needed for comparison and evaluation of group and personal characteristics. Now, by status, we mean the relative ranking of a person in a group or even a group's ranking. For example, we have grading in government to define the ranks, names, and such as colonel in army chief, And similarly, every organization has a way to define the ranks of its people and departments relative to other people and departments, and this rank is known as status of that individual or that group in that organization. Social loafing can be defined as the tendency of uh, an individual group member to reduce their effort on a task. This is the main reason why groups are sometimes less productive than the combined performance of their members working as individuals. However, many of the causes of social loafing arise from an individual feeling that his or her effort will not matter to the group. Cohorts or group demography is the level to which a member of a group can share a common demographic attribute with his fellow team member. Group demography is a successful ploy in increasing the efficiency of a team in the long run. These factors include age, gender, religion, and the length of service in the organization. Cohesiveness in a group acts as a social glue that binds the group together. Some people think that work teams illustrating strong group cohesion will function and perform better in achieving work goals. Group cohesion cannot be attributed to a single factor, but it is the interaction of more than one factor. While group cohesion may have an impact on group performance may create or increase group cohesion as well. Therefore, group cohesion may also have a negative impact on group task performance. The collective decisions made by a group have two advantages and three disadvantages over the decisions which are made individually. Let's first discuss the advantages. The synergy in a group is a strong and important factor. When a group makes a decision collectively, its judgment can be powerful than that of any of its members. Through discussing, questioning, and collaborative approach, group members can identify more complete and robust solutions and recommendations. Sharing of information is another advantage of group decision making, which increases understanding, clarifies issues, and facilitates movement toward a collective decision. The first disadvantage of group decision making over individual decision making is diffusion of responsibility. Everyone involved in the group decision making is responsible for its outcomes, and so no one really is responsible. Moreover, group decisions can make it easier for members to refuse personal responsibilities and blame others for bad decisions. Group decision making can also reduce the group efficiency as it takes a lot more time to reach a decision which satisfies the whole group. But with good facilitation and structure, meetings can get eliminated in trivial details that may matter a lot to one person but not to others. Group thinking is one of the biggest disadvantages of effective group decision making. Groupthink is a psychological phenomenon that occurs within a group of people in where a desire for conformity to the group may result in some baseless outcomes. By refraining themselves from outside influences and actively suppressing opposing viewpoints in the interest of minimizing conflicts, group members may reach a consensus without critical evaluation of substitute viewpoints. Groupthink may also sometimes produce dehumanizing actions against the outgroup. Sometimes we feel like speaking up in a meeting, classroom, or an informal group, but decide against it. Why is that? Mainly it's due to shyness. We may have been a victim of groupthink, the phenomena that arises when group members become so enamored of seeking concurrence that the norm for consensus alters the realistic appraisal of substitute courses of action and the full expression of deviant minority or unpopular views. It worsens an individual's mental efficiency, reality testing, and moral judgment due to group pressure. By now, you may be able to guess all the symptoms of groupthink phenomena, which can be illusions of unanimity of decisions, unquestioned facts or ignorance of partial information, stereotyping of certain beliefs, self censorship of facts, and direct pressure to conform to group decisions. In balancing group decisions with individual decisions of members within the group, evidence hints that there are differences. In some cases, the group decisions are more timid than the individual decisions. More often, the shift is close to a greater risk. What appears to happen in groups is that the discussion results in a significant shift in the position of members towards a more extreme position in the direction in which they were already learning before the discussion. Group decisions free any single member from accountability for the group's final choice, as discussed earlier, and the greater risk can be taken as if the previous answers. Each member receives a copy of the results accompanied by the second questionnaire. After that, members are required to review the results